Hi, my name is Aishwarya and you're welcome back to the Recruiters Training Series provided by Aptask. These are our Aptask 20 vital tips for recruiters at Aptask. We preach this, we teach this so that all recruiters are able to be confident and successful. Tip 1. Check LinkedIn profile. Before you call any candidate, check their LinkedIn profile to ensure they're not already working for our client. This happens a lot when we have old resumes on file. We want to avoid the embarrassment associated with it. This makes us look unprofessional and unorganized. Okay, so think of it this way. A person has their personal email address but they do not have the most current job listed on their resume. Their LinkedIn, however, is updated with the most current job, and guess what? It happens to be your client. This simple time-saving lesson here is that you could have avoided calling this candidate if you had matched their resumes with their LinkedIn profile. In short, be mindful and make sure that you match the resume with the LinkedIn profile and look for the most current employment on LinkedIn. This will help you avoid wasting time and allowing you to focus only on the right candidates. Tip 2. Learn about the candidate's work history and experience with the client, if any. If the candidate worked previously with the client you're working for, try to get the following information: exact dates worked with that client, who they worked for or reported to, what agency they worked through, why they left it, if they left on good terms, will the client manager be willing to rehire? If they left on good terms, or will the client manager be willing to rehire? If the position is in a different department within the same company, would that hiring manager provide positive feedback? Basically, ask more questions. Really take the time to get to know your candidate and understand the entire situation so you can take the correct steps for the best outcome. Tip 3. Proofread the entire resume. Proofread it at least 3 times to be sure. Always proofread the entire resume. Take the time to clean up any typos and grammatical errors. The resume is the first impression the client gets of your candidate. Make it a good one. Once the changes have been made, make sure the candidate has a copy of that exact same revised resume submitted to your client. Otherwise, if the client has one version and the candidate walks in with another version, there will be a discrepancy. The last thing we want is for the client to think that you modified the resume to match the job description. This will reflect poorly on you and on Aptask. So, always make sure if you make any edits, send a copy to the candidate before submitting it to the client. An even better option would be to have the candidate make the changes and send you the revised copy so that you have a track record that the candidate had given you that resume copy. Tip 4. Smile, listen, and take your time. When you're on a call with the candidate, always try to smile. When you smile, your tone comes off very courteous and pleasant. When the candidate is talking, do not interrupt them. Let the candidate speak completely without any interruption. When you think that the candidate has stopped talking, pause for a second and then respond. Listen. Listening is the most difficult and uncommon skill every recruiter should practice. Recruiters are always trying to move quickly to the next call, but it's important to listen carefully and figure out if this candidate is suitable for the job and not try to quickly move on when they don't seem like the right fit. If you allow yourself and the candidate some time to speak, you might find that even though they are not a good fit for a particular position, they might be good for another position within the company. A little extra time can still lead to a placement. So smile, listen, and don't rush the call. Tip number 5. Know the when and why for gaps in work history. If there are gaps in the work history on the resume, get reasons in writing from the candidate for your record. Be sure to attach that to your applicant tracking system. In the case of Aptask, we use Job Diva as our applicant tracking system. Sometimes you might have to give an explanation to your client also. So, please have that information handy and ready before your client asks for it. They might want to know what happened during this period and why this candidate was not working during that period of time. There could be a number of reasons for a gap in the work history. Maybe the candidate took a sabbatical, went back to school, was traveling, had a baby, or whatever reason it may be. Make sure you have it ready. Tip number 6. Get all details, confirmation of rates and availability via email. You need to have a written record from the candidates on what rate or salary they have agreed on to take this position, when they would be available for an interview, when they would be available to start the job. If the candidate does not send you a confirmation on email, send one to them via email stating what discussion you had and what rate or salary they had agreed upon. This email should start with "as per our discussion, we have agreed upon." This is a good way of getting it on record and also getting a solid confirmation from the candidate. If they disagree, they will have to respond. By sending the email after the call, you have covered your bases. Tip 7. Calculate the commute distance and time for the candidate. Always determine the distance from the candidate's home to their workplace. Learn about the transportation options and time it would take for them to get to work. If the one-way commute is going to take more than an hour, the candidate may not be suitable unless there is a comfortable public transportation. In some cases, the candidate may be willing to relocate, so ask them if that is an option. Understand if it would be a temporary option or permanent. If someone has a family and kids going to school, this may not be a long-term option for them. Check Google Maps from the client's work location to the person's home address. Sometimes the distance may only be 10 miles, but there may not be an easy way to get there and it could take more than 30 or 40 minutes to reach the workplace. Keep in mind, people working in New Jersey usually take the train to go to New York. People working in Long Island have a longer commute to New York and some trains not even are close to their homes. People working in Westchester can come to New York City, but it might take a little bit more time. People working in Connecticut have a much longer train ride if they are going from New Jersey or New York. So, please always check the map and check the public transportation on Google Maps and figure out the duration of the commute if the person takes public transportation. If there is no public transportation, always ask the candidate if they drive and if they have a car. Also, ask if they have been driving to their previous jobs and how far the distance was. This will help you to get an idea of what they are used to in terms of work commute. Tip 8. C2C details and check H1 visa. If the candidate is coming through another corporation which is also called C2C, compare candidate's version with his employer's version on candidate background, immigration status, past project information, rate expectations and other criteria. The most important is the H1 expiration. Try to get a copy of their most current H1 visa so that you can check that there is enough time left in the H1 visa for candidate to perform the job and finish the contract with your client. Tip 9. This was already discussed in tip 3. Number 9. This is absolutely no. Never ever modify or fudge candidate's resume before submitting to the client. If you need any changes to be made to the resume, let the candidate make it and then resend it to you. The candidate always needs to have the same copy of the resume that you submitted to the client. If you do this and the candidate walks in with the old resume, you get caught. And that's going to be a very embarrassing situation for your account manager. But never ever do that. Period. Tip 10. Be honest with the candidate and provide all accurate information about the job. Provide all the information you have about the location, role, manager, company, and whether client will accept remote work or not. The more informed they are, the more likely the hiring process will go smoothly. Provide client company website links, hiring manager, and the interviewer's LinkedIn profile before the interview. Provide the entire hiring process, background check, and drug testing information to the candidate upfront to avoid any surprises. It's very, very important that you go through the entire process. Tip 11. Change the candidate's mind if they decline the offer. If the candidate declines an offer or states that they are no longer available for the job, engage in a conversation to understand their new offer, compensation, if it is a contract, duration of the new assignment, who the client is, and any other information you can get. By getting this information, you can try to change the candidate's mind by showing how our offer can accommodate them and why it's a better choice. Do not just say thank you and good luck. Try to show the candidate the pros of the offer that you have provided. Reasons you can provide to help change a candidate's mind. Project has a longer duration, closer to home, better rate or rate can be negotiated with the client. More room for growth. In short, don't give up. Try your best to get all the information and see if there is anything that can be done to make the candidate happy and change their mind about declining your client's position. Tip 12. Prepare your candidate for the interview. Prepare the candidate with proper explanation but never give questions you know the client might ask or has asked the previous candidate. If you're a good recruiter, you will always take feedback from the candidate. You may ask questions such as, how was the interview? What kind of things did they ask? What skills did they say they are looking for? Was there anything that was difficult for you to answer? Sometimes you know the questions that the client might be asking, but do not reveal those questions to the next candidate who's going to be going in for the interview. You can give a broad explanation and provide an area of expertise designed by the client, but not the actual questions. Letting your candidate know what questions will be asked would be cheating and not fair to the candidate who you retrieved all that information from. To not cheat on questions is in everyone's favor because the second candidate can prepare for those questions, might get the job, and may not perform on the job as well as the client was expecting. Be fair and help candidates find positions that they actually are a good fit for. Tip 13. Inform candidates that calls are being recorded for training purposes. If you record calls with your candidates, always inform them that the calls are being recorded for training purposes. It is illegal in some states to record calls without the other party's consent. So do not record the calls without consent. Tip 14. Communication is the key. Always stay in touch with the candidate and keep them informed on where they stand in the progress of hiring with your client. If they are rejected, please let the candidate know right away. Do not keep them dangling and do not give them wrong information. If they have any other opportunity, at least they can pursue that opportunity. In all circumstances, always stay in touch and provide proper information to all the parties involved. Log all calls in Job Diva and send follow-up emails to the candidates after the calls. Communication is the key between the client, recruiter, and the candidate. So, this is very, very important, and when you speak to the candidates during their process, to ask them questions like, hey, are you taking any other interviews? Or are there any other job offers in the pipeline for you? So you can get that information and let your client know that, hey, this candidate is no more available. The candidate has already taken another job. Communication is important and it's a two-way street. The candidate telling you honestly if they already got the job, or you telling the candidate that the client is not interested. Be honest and don't waste anyone's time. Tip 15. Use paid experts or working consultants. For key positions, always use paid experts or our working consultants in similar technology to interview the potential candidate. We also use Uber Conference with call recording or Zoom video recordings so that we can provide them to the client saying that this is how we interviewed the candidate. Tip 16. Send thank you emails and ensure your emails are professional. Always send thank you emails to the candidate for sending resumes, for taking an interview with your expert, and taking an interview with your client. Use standard templates for email communication whenever applicable. Be sure to spell check your emails before sending. All recruiters need to have consistent email signature with your company's website, company's LinkedIn page, and company's job listing page. These should all be in your signature so that if your email is forwarded to a potential candidate, they can view the job opportunities that we have posted. Tip 17. Keep in touch with your candidate. Call every candidate you place on their first day of assignment and make sure everything is going well. Ask if they reached work smoothly, if there was any traffic on the way, or they faced any parking issues. After that, you should call at the end of the first week and then on a monthly basis to understand there are no issues. Show that you care and that you are still there for them to support. Keep in touch and check to ensure there are no issues with colleagues or managers. Ask them if they find the work exciting, if they are happy. All this needs to be entered in your applicant tracking system. If you're not calling your candidate, other recruiters from other firms are. So be careful. You don't want to lose this candidate to your competitor before the contract ends. Tip 18. Continue to keep in touch. This is how you build relationships. Once a candidate finishes their first assignment with your company, you should stay in contact with them every 3 months. Find out where they're working, who their manager is, and names of their peers. Always document this information in your applicant tracking system, and if they track the names of their current managers, pass along that information to your sales or business lead team. The team can call this manager if we are not already working with this client and say that, hey, you have this candidate working with you that had worked with our client in the past. By this small introduction call, Aptask can state how we provide similar talented candidates and help them with additional hiring. Tip 19. Request honest feedback. Always request consultants to provide their honest feedback for the company on Glassdoor, whether good or bad. Offer a nominal gift for providing that feedback. That feedback is going to educate you if you're doing a good job or not. Tip 20. Be proud and passionate about your work. Be proud of what you're doing and do it with passion. Represent your company with pride and let the candidate know that we are the best in the industry. If you follow these 20 tips, you will be one of the top recruiters in the country. There may be 5% of the best recruiters among all the recruiters who do have all of the above traits. Want to be one of the top 5 percentile recruiters in the world? Then follow these 20 tips. I hope you learn this and you practice this. Thank you and good luck. Happy recruiting.